Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. It's Matt, Liz, and Joe, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. But up front, Liz, you wanted to take a little moment to talk to people about the site, so I'm throwing it to you right now.
Yes. Hello. I wanted to give a little state of the site update to start off. We did one of these last week. We're doing another one again. We are going to be starting a Patreon pledge drive pretty soon to kind of keep things stable, but and that's really only waiting on me to sit down and be able to finish writing the post, which has been a problem over the last week, but it's going to happen. I'm going to do it. But I wanted to tell you, we've also been looking to advertising providers, getting an advertising provider on the site that actually helps us support the site. And we've got a new one that has started up today as we're recording this. It is, if you've been on the site, you may have noticed a lot of ads. Right now, the new ad provider is experimenting with ad placement, and we're trying to figure out how to get it set up, what needs to go where, and what do we need to just say, no, stop doing that. We don't want to do that. So far, it's going well. Our last ad provider made some pretty big promises, and we weren't getting a lot out of them. These guys are, they've been more responsive to us talking and asking questions and saying, okay, we can't do this. But there will be some period of time in which the site is going to be weird. Ads might be weird. Things might look weird while we figure out ad placements and they figure out ad placements. So if you see something weird, if you see something wrong, do let us know, but just expect it to be weird. Also, if you are a Patreon supporter and you have ads free, please tell me immediately if you are still seeing ads, even when you're logged on ads free. I want to make sure that is still working for all of our supporters. So I'm getting some kind of mixed reports from people as to whether ad free is still working or it's gotten broken. So if you're seeing ads, let me know. You can email me directly at liz@blizzardwatch.com if you are having a problem. So thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for reading the site. Thank you for listening to us here in this crazy podcast. And back to you, Matt.
Thank you, Liz, and everybody who's listening. Like she said, let us know what's going on. We're going to start talking about various things that are happening in various Blizzard games because that's what we do at this point. It's like news and so forth. I hope you enjoy that. First up, the Dark Heart content patch is now live for World of Warcraft Dragonflight. That's kind of the lead up to the War Within. It's not what we would call pre-expansion exactly. It's more like an intro where you see some plot elements and so forth that are leading up to the next expansion. There's no big system changes or anything like that. It's still very much Dragonflight. We're still doing all the various Season 4 activities like the Awakened raids and so forth. There's a new quest line called Sins of the Sister that I thought was pretty cool. Haven't gotten to finish it yet because, as you can see, I'm riding around Stormwind on a giant bee with tentacles.
It's very important.
Why does this bee have tentacles? I do not understand Tentacle Bee. He's very cute, like him. I'm going to ride around on him a lot, but I don't like the tentacles. I don't know why he has them. They are confusing to me. But regardless, there he is. The trading post this month is actually really cool. A lot of neat stuff. They brought back some things from previous ones as well. We've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into big thing on that, but I'm mentioning that it's there. Do either of you have a troll or a Draenei? I have a Draenei, so I'm super excited for the Heritage Armor quest. Do either of you have a troll or Draenei?
I have a troll druid.
Liz?
I do not. I'm a high mountain Tauren druid because I like having antlers.
Okay, so yeah, no. For people who have a troll or a druid or a troll or a Draenei, you finally have your Heritage Armor. I didn't know they were getting. I didn't know Draenei were getting Heritage Armor. To be honest,
trolls are the last vanilla race to get Heritage Armor. It's like, it's been a long time. It's like, did Blizzard forget about us?
No.
Did Blizzard forget this?
In order for Blizzard to have forgotten about trolls, they would have had to been paying attention to trolls in the first place. And let's be honest.
Fair point.
Trolls have not been getting the love. Even when they got another troll race in an expansion, that troll race got suspiciously less attention than one might expect for the major draw of the expansion. But regardless, yeah, we've got troll Heritage Armor. You guys looked at the armor? I kind of like the Draenei armor. Like, I didn't expect to, but I kind of like the sweeping, kind of like almost Greek mantle type chest plate thing they have going on.
So are you saying I need to roll a Draenei now? Is that what's going to happen?
I'm not telling you what you have to do with your life. I mean, but I will tell you that it's a nice look. The troll one, I mean, the headdress seems like a bit much, but otherwise it's a good look in my opinion.
The headdress is a throwback to the Shadowhunter headdress from Warcraft 3. That's what it. So like that's what it's based on. I'm not too keen on the Draenei one. I don't know why. I'm also not too. I don't know. I'm not keen on either of them. They are not my favorite heritage armor. I think the troll one, and I'm going to say this, and I don't know how else to say it, so I apologize. It feels kind of like they just took troll totems and just shoved them on things, because that's the shoulders, the knees, the face mask, everything looks like essentially the totems stapled onto the Shadowhunter armor from Warcraft 3. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I just personally don't like it. And then the Draenei one is okay. I don't like the helmet. Like, the helmet just does not work for me. That was my opinion. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
No.
That's why we're here, man.
You got to have your opinion.
I don't like, I think part of the problem is I don't really think about helmets very much.
I do.
Once you start taking your helmet off constantly, like ever since I started playing my Night Elf, I have this big facial scar. I have like all the burn scars from Teldrassil. So I want them to be there on my face. I want people to see them. So I never have my helmet on anymore. And as a result of that, I don't think about the helmet. But it definitely has a sort of sci-fi Greek feel to it. And I don't think it looks enough like a Greek helmet to be cool, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's stopped halfway there, right? Like
it should really go for it. If you're doing that kind of hat, it should be like this big metal thing with like the Corinthian style slits to just so your eyes and face a little bit show, and a huge crest on it, and just go for it. And unfortunately, that part of it doesn't really work. In my opinion, I don't disagree with Joe about the helmet. The troll one, I don't hate it. I don't have the problem with thinking it looks too much like shaman totems, but it doesn't, it's not making me go, yay, either. Compared to some of the other ones, like I really did like some of the other ones a lot more than this. I like the Draenei one, and I'll probably get it.
I think the Draenei one would look really good with the Bastion helmet that has the laurels coming off of the golden laurels. I think that would look really, really well with it. So
yeah, and you keep in mind too that a lot of Draenei stuff tends to look paladin-y because it's one of the iconic paladin races, Alliance side. It's sort of like the same reason that Blood Elf armor tends to need to work. If it's plate, it needs to work with paladin stuff because there's so many Blood Elf paladins. So, but we talked about that. I think we should move on to a brief mention about Mists of Pandaria Remix, in that it's next week.
Yeah, it's launching on Thursday, and it's like, how did this happen? How is it time for this already? And where will I have time to play it? And also, what should I play? I don't know.
I'm honestly thinking about going back to my original attempt to level a Pandarian Warrior. Because I have my Pandarian Warrior. My Pandarian Warrior is like level 20, and I've never done anything with them since. So I'm thinking if I start over and I can just level in Pandaria, I go from the turtle to Pandaria, essentially, that might work. Like, that might keep me feeling like I belong there. My biggest disconnect was that I took my Pandaren off of the turtle and to the Wandering Isle, and I went straight to, like, I think Elwyn Forest. And I'm like, that doesn't really feel like I should be here. But so, yeah, I love their animations. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen their animations for being a warrior, and they've changed them to a degree from when they originally had them, but they look really cool. So I'm interested to see if I get a chance to do that. But I don't know. I feel like when I do log into WoW right now, I always feel like I know I should be leveling my main. And it's like, maybe I could give my main a rest. Maybe I should play something else entirely. Rather than try and catch up, I could do all the catch-up mechanics because there's a ton of them right now in WoW. But it's like, I almost don't want to. I almost just want to go level some low-B character somewhere and just make that my main in the next expansion. So maybe I know Joe has had a Pandaren Shaman before, and I don't think you're particularly interested in going back.
No, I mean, I get to be a dwarf again, so I'm going to be a dwarf again.
Well, yeah, but I meant you can't do that right now.
Can't be what?
A dwarf. You can't be a dwarf again until...
our
You're
guild is
doing
going to
Guild Alliance.
our guild is going to play on Alliance for ReMists. So
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
So so yes, you could indeed be a dwarf. I am really feeling for War Within. I need to level an Earthen Shaman because that just feels like the race, and they have really cool metallic kind of skin and hair colors that I really like. So, but that means I can't do a shaman now because I'm doing a shaman later. I'm in such a bind trying to figure out what to play because it's like, oh, I've been having fun leveling my warrior alt, but I already have a warrior at like level 64, so do I want to start over?
No.
No, I don't, because I like my little Volpera warrior. She's adorable.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when a tiny, tiny, tiny race goes and like kicks things in the ankle, and it's great.
Do Volpera have that feeling? Like, there's two different feelings for my mind for like smaller warriors. Like, there's the gnome feeling, where it feels like the gnome is like being dragged along by their weapons almost. Like a gnome with two Ashkandis looks like the Ashkandis are actually dragging them places. Whereas a goblin with two giant weapons looks literally like someone just activated the murder, death, kill switch on them. Like, they remind me of the Tasmanian Devil. Do Volpera go into those places, or is it their own unique thing?
I do kind of feel like the Tasmanian Devil thing, but also, you know, their weapons are twice as large as they are if you're wielding a two-handed weapon. So it's a little of both. I enjoy it because it's like, it's this character who is both short and very slight. They aren't bulky characters. I think even gnomes are kind of like physically sort of beefier than a Volpera. Volperas are very lithe. So it's like the weapons are so much bigger than you are, but you don't care. You're going to swing them and hit this guy. And it's just so much fun. It's so satisfying. Charge is such a satisfying button to hit. So
I wrote entire posts about Charge in that day. So yeah,
but that means I can't play a warrior in ReMists because I like this warrior, and where do I go? I don't know. I don't know.
I honestly, you've had a monk before, so that's not really.
Yes, yeah.
Have you leveled the Death Knight recently?
I have not leveled a Death Knight recently, so I've thought about that. But I've also thought, well, maybe I should level a class that I don't have a lot of transmog for already, which would be a cloth or a
leather
male class. Cloth or male, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, there's always hunters, I guess.
I've just been waffling ever since it was announced. I've been like, I could play this, I could play that, I could play this. But I am pretty sure I need to play a Void Elf because they have the best racial in the game.
They have diplomacy?
No, they have a better racial than diplomacy. They have half-price transmog.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay.
They do. It's great.
I'm seriously sitting here thinking now, wait a minute. I may have to level that Void Elf after all.
Right?
So do you have anything that you like used? You're just thinking Dwarf Shaman. That's just it. That's your only thought.
I mean, listen, I'm a one-trick pony. I know what I'm about. I'm not going to swerve too far out of my lane. I'm just going to stay there, thrive. You know, the usual.
All right. I think at this point, then, we should move on to talking a little bit about the Discoverer's Delight buff in the Season of Discovery. I did not realize this when I mentioned it, but Liz explained it to me that this thing's been around for a while. The Discoverer's Delight buff has been around for a while in Season of Discovery, but this is the second or third time that they've buffed it?
Yes, they buffed it they buffed it going into the last season, and then they buffed it again when they buffed it again a little into the season, and then they've just buffed it again. So it is from level 1 to 39, you get 150% in experience increase, and from level 40 up, you get 100% experience increase. So if you are catching up to existing characters, if you're just jumping in for the first time, 150% more experience. You can, one of the problems with Classic was always it took a while. Took a while to do things, took a while to level. It was a grind. So yes, even if you haven't played Classic Season of Discovery, you can go in and level pretty quickly at 150% speed. And also, for once you hit the previous season's level cap, which was 40, then you'll still be getting double experience, plus 100% experience. So it's like this is kind of the version of Classic that maybe we always wanted, where you can zoom through the levels, you can play with cool new skill combinations, I love Seasons of Discovery, and I cannot find the time to play it. I just can't. Yeah. There are only so many hours in the day.
Does this go? This stacks with other experience buffs, though, right?
It does.
Being rested and so forth.
It stacks with rested, and there's also another thing. There's a sleeping bag that you can get by doing a quest, and if you sleep in the sleeping bag, you get some extra rested XP. So, like, all of these things stack, and you can really, it'll all add up. It's a lot.
I'm very supportive of anything that makes 1 to 39 in Classic go faster. Because I remember that when I did it the first time, and I felt like I was going to die. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Moving on briefly, this is another one that I don't think needs a ton of commentary because we did talk about it a lot, but we should mention that next week on the 14th, so literally a week from today, as we're recording, Diablo 4 Season 4 is going to be out. And they're still doing the thing where they end Season 3 and just immediately go into Season 4, right?
Yeah.
They've been doing that in this one, so.
Yeah, Diablo 4 has always done it that way. Diablo 3 does, about a week break.
Yeah, the week break.
But Diablo 4 Season 3 is going to end. Season 4 is going to start. And, okay, Matt, and I don't think Joe is playing, but Matt, have you finished the Season Pass or the Season Journey this season?
Oh, yeah, I finished it like a month and a half ago. Because I wanted to play Baldur's Gate 3. So I had to finish it really fast. So there's a lot of, okay, it's 2:00 in the morning. I should be sleeping, but I really need to go a little harder and get one more level. And then I got to do this thing. Yeah. It was a nightmare, but I did it. Yeah.
So this is the first season. I don't think I'm going to bother to finish the season pass. We have, as of this recording, we've got 6 days and some number of hours to go before the season ends. And I'm like, I mean, they're rewards, but do I really care about this kind of seasonal themed transmog set? I mean,
I went and got it. And you know what? It's not that great looking.
Yeah, it's that exactly. I feel like Diablo 4 is being kind of skimpy with the new transmogs it adds.
Not skimpy with the new transmogs it adds. Skimpy with the ones you don't spend money on.
Yes, I mean,
this is
even
my
the ones
biggest
in the battle
problem
pass.
with this. Yeah, my biggest problem with Diablo 4 is that the best transmogs seem to be locked behind money.
And they aren't cheap. It's like $20 a transmog set.
They are not cheap. And here's the thing, I am totally okay with them selling transmogs. That's not my issue. My issue is I should be able to get transmogs that I think are just as good.
There should be incentives to just play the game, not dump money into the game.
Even if it was something like anything you could spend money on, you could earn currency in the game, kind of like what Hearthstone used to do. I don't know if they still do, quite frankly, because I don't play Hearthstone anymore.
A little bit. It's a little debatable right now.
But the ability to like play the game and get the stuff, albeit slower, because spending money, I get why you want to incentivize it. But yeah, no, I don't like how they're doing transmog in the game. It is my biggest problem with Diablo 4 right now. I actually really like all the changes they're making to loot. Well, we've covered those. I don't feel like we want them.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
The thing is, like, if they added some cool transmogs that you could earn every season, that would be awesome. But they add these kind of mediocre transmogs to earn, and
I mean,
like two.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, they're okay, but they're not amazing. And it's like every week there are new $20 transmogs in the shop. If there's an event, they don't have a transmog set you can earn. They have transmog sets you can buy for $20 a pop. And it's not just $20 for something you can use across all your characters. Like in World of Warcraft, you can go in, if you buy a cosmetic armor set, it's a cosmetic armor set. All of your characters can equip it. But in Diablo, it's a cosmetic armor set for one single class.
Yeah.
$20 a piece. And they just have not added a lot to the base game that you can earn. It's all money. It's all real money. And that's kind of discouraging.
Yeah,
so,
I do not disagree with you in the slightest. In fact, it has been one of my biggest bugbears for this whole game. Because, I mean, I love transmog. And I really liked how it worked in Diablo 3. In Diablo 3, transmog is pretty good. It works, basically, it's all just stuff you get throughout the world. And it costs a lot of gold sometimes, but gold is, you make gold by playing the game. So yeah, that's fine. And I'm not sitting here railing against monetization. I understand that it is necessary. I get that. And I don't feel like the dev team is out to bleep me. I don't know what words not to use. I don't feel like they're trying to rip me off. But I do feel like the pressure to monetize has gotten to the point where stuff that should be gameplay isn't.
Like, here's the thing that I bring up all the time, and when we talk about this, and it's going to be looking at MOBAs. Mm-hmm. Looking at MOBAs in particular gives you a good idea of how, at least the good ones, how monetization should be in free games. And League of Legends is a really good example of this. All the skins cost money. There's also ways to earn the skins without spending money. You can actually get them and unlock them in game. There's a little RNG with it, but you can earn in-game things to craft them, right? But all the heroes you can unlock with just by playing the game. You get what they call blue essence, and blue essence can be used to unlock any of them. So you don't have to buy heroes, you just get them. The gameplay, the core gameplay is just there. It's free. You can just do it and you can earn it. And if you want to spend money on skins, you can spend money on skins. It's not a necessity. It's not something that is enticing you to come back and play the game and then you have to dump money into it. Heroes of the Storm did the same thing. Heroes of the Storm was really good about that. You just had your heroes. You unlocked them. You did your thing with them. You earned the gold to unlock them. And
I unlocked every Malfurion skin.
But you could unlock skins via gameplay as well. You have to have some form of incentive. This is the battle between engagement and monetization. You have to monetize. You have to have an option for players to give you money. But it became more... the industry has come away from, we're going to rely on whales and people who want to give us money and just making sure that we have a game that people want to play. And as long as we do that, they'll send us enough money to corporations, overlords going, I need all the blood from that stone. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. And unfortunately, Diablo sort of falls into that category, right? Like it's become a franchise where they want that overt monetization. So all the cool new stuff is transmogs. They get real money, and you really can't earn a whole lot of extra stuff in game. Like, I don't know. When's the last time you were really excited about an in-game update in Diablo 4?
The one that's coming.
Yeah,
I mean that's
because
which is fair, but this is what, season 4, right?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. The previous updates weren't updates. It's not like they were updates in the sense of you got stuff, but I don't know how to put it. They weren't updates to the game systems or anything like that. Yeah. And they weren't, look at this cool new stuff you can get. It was, look at this cool new stuff you can give us money to get.
Yes.
I was excited for the first season, but that was because I had fallen into the belief that seasons were going to be kind of big story beats to add to the story, which I had really enjoyed playing through the campaign originally. And what we got was a season that had just this tiny itty bitty bit of narrative, and it was a disappointment. So I was excited for it then, and then I've been successively less excited.
I don't know. It just further goes into that whole, they could do better with it. They could make it more enticing. And maybe they learn.
I honestly feel like the easiest thing for them to do, and since the expansion's coming, who knows what they'll do with it, the easiest thing to do is simply make a system where you can earn a way to get anything that's available for money. Maybe that's not something that they're going to do. In fact, I think it is likely they're not going to do that, but I feel like that would be the simple way to do it.
It would be. But they also, it's also hard for them to do that when a lot of that stuff is how they're keeping that team profitable enough to keep it around.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
All they would have to do is add a little bit of premium currency to the battle pass. And right now you only get premium currency on the battle pass if you have a paid battle pass. And even then, even if you have paid for the battle pass, you do not get enough premium currency to buy an armor set in the store. You can finish the whole battle pass and you have some premium currency, but it's not enough to buy anything.
And that's really a huge flaw. That's a huge flaw. Like we talk about that with battle passes as well, because again, battle passes should give you enough to earn the things. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like at this point, though, I will say that we have not said anything now we haven't said previously. You're right. I am going to say that we should move on to this new Diablo Immortal news, just because I didn't see this coming.
Wait. Hang on. I'm sorry. This had slipped my mind, and my counterpart Liz Pat said something about it and made me remember one thing that is coming with this Diablo 4 patch, this next Diablo season, that I had missed, is that in the season journey for Diablo 4 Season 4, you'll be earning some armor sets, and that kind of threw me because Diablo 4 doesn't have armor sets. It's one of those things the team has been like, we'll definitely maybe think about possibly maybe adding them in the future. So, but they aren't adding armor sets in Season 4, but they are going to add some armor focused on certain build types that you can get by playing through the season journey. Some legendary pieces that you can earn, which I think is a good move. I think that was one of the great things in Diablo was you played through the season journey and you would collect an armor set for your class along the way, and it kind of defined what the season felt like because you'd play a class, you'd get a specific armor set that focused on a specific kind of gameplay, so you'd play a little differently than you did last season because you have this different armor set and you're focused on different things. I thought that was really strong. It's something Diablo 4 has never done because there aren't any armor sets, but it sounds like they're maybe trying to mimic that, trying to make the Battle Pass something you really want to get through. I think I finished the Battle Pass. I think I finished the Battle Pass once, maybe twice, but they seem like the Battle Pass. Wait, not the Battle Pass, the Season Journey.
Yeah, which
two
is
separate reward systems.
That's
I think
not
I
complicated.
The Season Journey. Yeah, I know. I finished the Season Journey once or twice because it doesn't feel very rewarding. You don't get a lot from it, and it's a lot of work to get all the way to the end.
Oh yeah.
But
once you get into like when you finish essentially leveling your character and you think you're done, there's actually all that really obscure stuff you have to do. It's like, oh my god, I've got to go kill like Uber Duriel now or whatever.
Oh my gosh, or finish a level 90 Nightmare Dungeon. And
it is.
There's a lot of stuff on the season journey. I think I finished it the one time that the reward was a scroll of amnesia at the end because I thought this is really great. But the rewards have gotten skimpier since then. And it's just been very disappointing. But I think an armor set reward, we don't have a lot of details on them.
Is it the Hellseeker stuff that they data mined? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't think so. They listed a specific skill or ability for each class that you were gonna get some armor focused on this, and that is all I know. So
I will be interested to see it. I mean, that rolls around.
Yes, but yeah. So that is one thing I am looking forward to in Diablo 4 Season 4 that we had not talked about previously because I totally missed it.
Okay,
I completely missed it.
Fair point. I didn't notice it either. But I am now going to make this Diablo Immortal news get sold because I am determined to talk about this briefly.
Yes, talk about it.
May 23rd, which is, again, this month, not too far from now, week after next, Diablo Immortal is getting its second new class after the Blood Knights from, I forget when exactly they did the Blood Knights. Is that 2023?
Yeah, I think it might have been a year ago now.
Yeah. Now they're getting the Tempest, and the Tempest is sort of like a rogue/shaman. In that they're fast using, look to be like, sabers and daggers and rapiers and so forth, and casting, storm magics, lightning, thunder, that kind of thing, all that jazz. Yes, that has been your Victoria Little China reference of the week. If you haven't seen that movie, go see it; it's good. Anyway, so yeah, the Tempest class. I watched the video. I had not heard about this class before I watched the video. I read up the article on it.
I think this is brand new. This is new news, like today.
Yeah, this is the announcement was today. Here's the thing is I liked Diablo Immortal. I'm not going to play Diablo Immortal and Diablo 4 and sometimes Diablo 3, which are the two I'm playing right now. So I'm just not going to get back into Diablo Immortal. I'm sorry. It's just too much Diablo. I want to be able to go out in public and not, get in a fight with people.
Yeah. I mean, my problem is I have no, I'm reading this and some of this sounds cool, but it would have been cool for me a year ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, for that matter, it's not that different than the Diablo 4 Druid implementation.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Diablo 4
it.
Druid, you have a lot of this stuff.
There's a lot of crossover there.
It looks speedy, like a speedy fast play class. It almost reminds me of a monk watching the gameplay, except it's using wind and water magic. And it's wielding daggers in the preview video, so it feels it feels like a hybrid of a lot of different classes.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting to see it. Since we know that we don't know what the new class coming in Diablo 4's expansion is?
Mm-hmm.
Every time they put out a Diablo Immortal class, we're like, is it that? Are we going to get that one?
Yes, it's that meme. Is this a new Diablo class?
For me, I view it like, I want you guys to imagine that Diablo 4 is outside of my house, and there's like a window that can just barely get up, and I'm going like new class, like instead of package, it's like new class. Is it the new class? I keep waiting to find out. So yeah, I get what Joe is saying. I think you're right about that. It does feel like, it feels really like it's just kind of taking go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that that seems weird is the timing of it, because, and this may or may not be related, but in my brain, the two are linked, and I think it is for other people. This is an ARPG, right?
Mm-hmm.
What just went into early access literally yesterday? Hades 2. Mm-hmm. So what's going to be more enticing to people, this new class or Hades 2 in early access, which is Supergiant's next big thing? They share a lot of the same brain space for folks. So is there something here that entices that over that? Is there enough here to pull people back into Immortal? Or are Immortal's numbers still pretty good? I don't know. Like, Diablo's in a weird spot right now, and I feel sad about that.
You know what I think the thing about Immortal is, though? I think this is connected not necessarily to Hades 2, although I certainly think anybody in that space is thinking about Hades 2. But I think it's not connected to that. It's connected to the new deal that brings Immortal back to China.
No, Immortals.
Yeah, it's been there. No, but it's been there China the whole time. But it's going. The deal means that they're going to still be there. They're not, going to lose anything. They weren't. There's no, because remember that thing was in real serious question. Everybody was like, "What happens?" Yeah, when the contract they had for Immortal wears off, what's going to happen to Immortal? Everything else was gone. So I think it's tied to that. I think that they're trying to get it cemented in its place. That is my theory. I don't have any evidence for it aside from I keep thinking about it. We know too that when everything else comes back, that Immortal's probably going to see a dip. Like, I would think that people who are playing Immortal probably play World of Warcraft, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like there may not be as much overlap there as we're assuming, in part because, okay, there is the game overload problem. You can only play so many games, and I think there's an audience for free to play games, and that may be a larger audience in Asia than there is here. But I don't know. I'm tempted to not think, oh, this is a plan to specifically get more people in right now. Diablo Immortal does patches really regularly.
Well, plus, I think we keep forgetting that Immortal is entirely mobile. Yeah. And the stuff you can play on your PC is an afterthought. Mm-hmm. They put that on there because people were emulating it anyway.
Yeah.
And I find myself wondering if Hades 2 is not going to be a mobile only game, or even a mobile primary. Is it
mobile
game.
At all? I don't think it's mobile at all.
I think, so they might not be any real crossover there. Like, I get what Joe's saying about it, the headspace, because I don't think you can think about ARPGs and especially ARPGs with roguelike elements and not think about Hades. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't think that's possible in 2024. But I don't see that's more where I'm going. I don't think there's a ton of overlap between them either, though. Like, if you're playing Immortal, especially if you're playing Immortal in Asia, you're playing it on a mobile device.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's fair, right? Like, so the mobile players, I think, are going to stick with it because, I mean, let's be honest, outside of the problematic nature of some of the stuff in it, like the battle pass and whatever,
Diablo Immortal is a killer game. It
is a killer game outside of that, right? Like, it is a very good Diablo game.
It's one of the best mobile games I've ever played. Like,
it runs incredibly smoothly. My favorite way to play Diablo Immortal is to play on my phone with a controller attachment and cast it to my television. And it does not feel like a mobile game. It looks stunning on, a 55-inch television. It is a great game. It's a great Diablo game. So it's just a shame it's burdened with all these microtransactions and mechanics that feel very pay to win.
Yeah. But, at this point, though, we know the class is coming. I do find myself wondering if they're going to do another class like this. Is fairly frequent.
Yeah, class a year. Yeah.
Are they going to do that again in 2025? I mean, and I gotta say, the Blood Knight felt more integral. Like to me, whereas the Tempest, I keep coming back to the idea that it feels like a rogue and a druid had a baby.
Think about this though. Think about Diablo 4 has these drowned characters, and there's all of this area that's about the drowned and kind of this theming. What if Diablo 4 had a class like this that's a drowned style character who's harnessed their powers instead of turning into like this sort of zombie-esque creature?
You see, now
that could be really cool.
That could be kind of cool, especially if it wasn't, if it was more heavily into the whole horrible themes of the drowned.
Like, and Diablo 4 does not have a problem going into horrible themes.
No, that is true. So yeah, there is. We gotta wait to see what the first expansion does because there's a lot.
Yeah, I think the first expansion is going to be like a for me, it's a make or break point for Diablo 4 because I've lost a lot of interest in Diablo 4. Yeah. Seasons when they decided what they were doing, kind of it sort of sucked the joy out of the game for me. And I understand that I'm in the minority. A lot of people really like the seasonal structure. That's fine, but like in Diablo 3, when they released the expansion, I felt really good about coming back and playing. And I played for a good long while. What they do here when the expansion releases will determine for me whether or not I come back to Diablo 4.
Yeah, I can see that. I like, here's my thing about the seasons. I like the season structure. I don't like the season story.
Yeah.
And it's not even that I don't like it so much as it's like, if I come to your house and you tell me there's gonna be like hors d'oeuvres and stuff, it's a party and there's gonna be snacks and so forth. If I come in and you have a charcuterie board and that's it, that's not enough, man. I could eat that by myself. What is everyone else going to eat?
There's going to be a 10-course meal. 7 of those courses will be Triscuits. It's going to be fantastic. That's what it feels like, right?
Yeah, that is not dissimilar to my reaction. Like, wow, this is that's a lot of pigs in blanket for one person maybe, but for 50 of us, no, this is insufficient pigs in a blanket.
Yeah, like
you need to get some more pigs and some blankets, man. There's some cold pigs, and I want to beat them to be warm when I eat them.
I'll comment on this and then I'll shut my mouth, but like it feels like Diablo 4 was overpromised, overhyped, underperformed to even my expectations, and I'm sure a bunch of the others, and maybe that's partially our own fault for what we expected for Diablo 4. But like it feels like we were promised X and given Y. And again, it's not a bad game.
Oh, no, there's good stuff in this game.
It is a fantastic game. I loved playing through the campaign. I loved leveling. Go ahead.
I think the initial leveling campaign is incredible. I think that's the best Diablo experience I've ever played. It's the best Sanctuary story we've ever seen. It has amazing environmental storytelling and art.
If anything, that's the problem. We wanted more of that.
Problem.
Yes.
We wanted more of that, and Diablo, the team seemed to be promising us more in a seasonal format. We would get a little more like this, and we haven't.
Yeah, because I can't be alone in that, right? Like when we were listening to it and we were watching the interviews, like the way that it was presented, it felt like, yes, and the story will continue in the seasons that will lead in between the expansion or expansions, where
I think
and that's what I expected.
What they thought that meant and what we thought that meant.
Yeah.
There's an inherent contradiction because we wanted it to be more of that, and it isn't. And there's nothing wrong with, say, the vampire story or the Malignant Heart story or what have you. They would have been fine subquests,
but it's not enough.
If you'd gone into a zone and those things and that story had been a major quest chain in the zone, you would have thought that was pretty cool.
100%.
But not for a season storyline. If there's an actual story to be had here, I'm sorry. This is like, I could get this in a town somewhere and just run through it and be done with it in a couple of days, except that you jammed in all these mechanics that require me to do it 17 times.
Yeah.
And so, there's good and bad of it. I do think that the seasons, the good thing about them is how regular they are. And how they do provide iteration. Like we're getting some nice iteration in season 4, but I think that we've seen some good stuff from each season preserved in the ongoing game. The Malignant stuff came back in season 2. There was like places you could go to get like a limited version of it, and I think that worked pretty well. And I think season 2 stuff that came back as fixes on gear, again, that worked pretty well. It's just that again, you feel like this could have been more.
I think part of my disconnect is how much of an MMO it was billed as. Right, and I think maybe I have a preconceived notion of how MMOs build on content because I mean. WoW has spoiled me over the years. City of Heroes spoiled me. Like MMOs tend to Guild Wars 2 has spoiled me because it sort of builds off the previous content, adding more, but constantly building on that foundation and making it more and bigger. And the seasons didn't really build anything on top of it. They added to it, but it didn't feel. I don't want to say it didn't feel significant, but like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm struggling to find the word.
I think the one thing I will say on that, and then we probably should move on because we do have this stuff to talk about. I think for me, part of the problem is that it makes you play an entirely new character every time.
Yeah, that's a huge disconnect.
So there's no continuity in it. Like you don't feel like new content has come out. My character can go explore it now. It's new content has come out. I now will have to level all the way through the original story to see that new content, or I can just see it at level 1 and then never play that character again. It's like, and that's the problem. Like when they let you do that, when you start at level 1 and you just start doing that content immediately, you're like level 40 when you're like level 30 when you're done. And it's like, and now what? I go back and play the original campaign again. It's a really nice campaign. Well, you can, you can kind of, but you can't because, as you said, you have to skip it to get into
you have
the
to
new
skip
stuff.
it. So you can't go back.
So your character can't do that story. I'm sorry, that story. When you start as a seasonal character, if you don't skip, if you just that story will pull you through in a way that just doing the season isn't going to.
And it's a really compelling story. It's well told with great voice acting.
I never thought I would care about Vigo. Do you think you were going to care about that guy? I didn't think I was going to care about that guy.
No, I did not.
And then suddenly I'm like, oh my, dude, you did not have to do that. Oh, you poor thing. So yeah, I do think, it's getting close to it's getting close to, we have 10 minutes left and we do have a few other things to talk about. And I did want to get at least one comment. So,
I am sorry, listeners who asked us questions today, because I went into Discord and I said, hey, we don't have questions. Ask us some questions. And I collected quite a few and we aren't going to get to any of them because we've just talked and talked and talked.
Yeah. So
next week.
We should mention right now, Antique Bronze Bullion is coming from the week's quest in Dragonflight. That's for Season 4 Dragonflight stuff.
Yes.
So
Dragonflight Season 4, you can get Antique Bronze Bullion by killing raid bosses. You can get one a week, and because of that, we kind of thought you'd be sort of limited. But this week's Emissary of War quest, which is requires you to go run 4 mythic dungeons, is giving you 2 bronze bullion, and that means more rewards, more loot that you can collect over the course of Season 4, and more loot means more transmog.
Also, we should make it the point too that the mythic dungeons in this case don't have to be mythic plus.
Yes, you can just do a
for the weekly
0.
quest. It's just a mythic. You just as long as it's a mythic at all, you can still get the 2 Antique Bronze Bullions. That's something you should probably know. Also, in the War Within, we're going to have set tokens from legacy content. They're going to be warbound. So if you're running, say, Mists of Pandaria or dungeon raids trying to get tokens, you could send them like, I get all these priest tokens instead. I'll just send them to my priest.
And that's it's always been kind of disappointing. You're out there farming transmog, and it's like, I'm just getting tokens for different classes, and now I have to throw them away because you can't even use them to make appearances. You can just sell them. Yeah.
Or even worse for some of them is you have to actually make the item to sell it. So you have paladin armor in your bag, and you're like, So
and most of them you can't even use them unless you're the specific class. So it's it is the definition of trash.
So this is a really good change. Quite frankly, in my opinion, what's really cool about it is if you get tokens for say Molten Core, You could give those to your just starting off character, and when they hit the right level, boom, they can just turn it on and wear it and run around killing stuff like that. And I think that's great. That's something I think they thought they should do for years. And now I'm going to turn to the non-existent camera and say, now do this for everything that drops in a raid. I want to be able to give my alts all the Ashkandis that drop from me every time I go to Blackwing Lair, because they're taunting me now that I have it. I understand you're doing this to me, game. Let me hand that off to other characters. I got a lot of baby warriors. They could use an Ashkandi. I mean, come on here. I'm just going to say that. But seriously, expand this. Use the Warbound system like this. Do cool things with it.
Yes.
All right. Anything else we got to talk about here?
I mean, I'm sure you noticed that half of the news I pulled out to talk about is transmog news.
Yes, I did.
It's transmog. This is all about transmog watch over here.
No, we all love transmog. I mean, that's the reason I'm riding around on a bee right now in a purple dress.
I listen. Right before this podcast, I was making sure my transmog was on point.
I just like my evening dress with the evening gown and the evening gloves that are all purple, and my purple shoulder cape, and my purple cape on behind my purple shoulder cape. I just really like that look. But we're now going to try and get at least one of these questions. So if you have a question for the show, you can email it to us at podcast@blizzardwatch.com, the subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for the show. Or you can go to our Discord. We've got the Q and podcast questions channel for everybody. It's just come on in and ask questions. We would love if you did that. Please do it. Please, please, please. Or you can go and be our patron for our site. We love that. If you go to, what's the account? What's our Patreon address? Joe knows it, I think.
Patreon.com/BlizzardWatch.
Thank you, Joe.
Indeed.
So you can go to the Patreon Q and podcast question channel. We tend to look there first because, you're our patrons. That's what happens with patronage. Right now, I'm going to at least try to get one of these. Let me look. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go for this one. If they were, this is from Tetsemi. Question for the podcast. If they were to make a WoW TV series similar to the recent Fallout /Ahsoka /Mandalorian series, what story would you tell and with what characters? Joe?
Unification of the human empires.
Wow.
Legitimately, I would go back to when the humans were disparate among a bunch of clans, go through the storyline of how they all came together into kingdoms, and run with it. I think it would be some of the most interesting storytelling that they could possibly do in an episodic content. It would potentially be as drama-driven and have as much intrigue and conflict as anything else. It would satisfy the political checkboxes for a TV series. The interpersonal relationship checkbox, the fantasy checkbox, because obviously it's set in World of Warcraft, but and honestly, I think it would have the potential to be something better than Game of Thrones was, but I feel very strongly that I don't like Game of Thrones as far as the TV show goes. That's where I would go, because I think it's the most rich environment. I really don't think we've explored sort of the intricacies. We know the starting point, we know the end point. There's a lot of stuff that happened in between. Matt and I have talked about this on Lore Watch a bunch of times over the last several years, but it's just, there's a lot of really cool things that they could explore in that time frame that I think would make for an interesting television series. Whether it's 6 or 10 episodes a season, it would be 6 or 10 episodes of really cool stuff each season, getting us to where we know the Warcraft universe is. That's my answer.
Liz, do you have anything?
I do actually have an answer to this. I'm not a lore nerd like you guys, and I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of a lot of Warcraft lore, but if I was doing a TV show, I would go back and do, okay, I've read one Warcraft book cover to cover, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's one where you meet Khadgar for the first time as a young apprentice, and you go through Medivh's story, and I think it would be really cool. I'm specifically thinking about Khadgar, even though a whole lot of stuff happens. The Last Guardian. Yep. A whole lot of stuff happens. There are a lot of other bigger characters, but you could go into that narrative with Khadgar, and we'd be introducing what is a fan favorite character who is going to play a role in the next expansion. We're all like, if I was releasing a TV show, right, War Within-ish, I would go early Khadgar and tell this big expansive Warcraft story, but kind of, in a way, keep the focus on Khadgar. Khadgar's a character who is sort of entering this larger world of magic for the first time. He's a young apprentice and going through all of this. And you could use him as just a character to guide people who aren't familiar with the story, who maybe not even familiar with Warcraft, into the story, into the world, into the lore. And for people who are huge Warcraft nerds, you have this pretty, you're telling some big events with Medivh. And so you could tell a really good story, and I think you could get Warcraft fans and non-Warcraft fans in there. And it's a good story. It's a good story. So that's what I got.
Matt, your turn.
The thing is that it's starting to feel like they're going to do it in the War Within, and so I'm hesitant to bring this up. But you know how the Arathi are coming back in the War Within, and we already have some lore about them and about Lothar and about all that stuff, because Lothar was considered the last of the Arathi bloodline before we then suddenly there's a whole bunch of them underground. I think they're going to do the Lothar's mystery child storyline that I've been telling them that I wanted them to do for 8 years. And that's what I would do if I were given a Warcraft TV show. The first thing I do would be the story of Lothar's mystery daughter. And I've always said this, I would bring her in, I would have her discover that she's like the heir to, Anduin Lothar, that she's this, this figure of importance. And more importantly, I would establish her kind of as a dominant presence. I would make her the main character and the one from whom we see the Warcraft storyline through. And it would basically be my version of what we've seen in other stories where we have a new character come in, except it wouldn't be like, you want to avoid the Madan. Like, this character can't be great at everything. You don't. So in a way, I honestly, one of the things I love in this kind of story is where you have them be somebody who's completely doesn't know how to navigate the world they're suddenly in.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Lothar's daughter and everyone knows you're Lothar's daughter, like if they find out, oh, this is Anduin Lothar's daughter, they're going to expect stuff from you. Like, is Anduin Wrynn going to be able to not expect that stuff? He's named after Anduin Lothar. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of potential. Like, you could do something that tries to do the same kind of stuff that the Song of Ice and Fire novels or the Game of Thrones show were trying to do, but without some of the stuff that I really hated.
Side note, I can't hear Anduin now without rethinking of the Long River from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing I want to do, because I watched. Did you guys watch the Amazon Lord of the Rings? The Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power. Yeah.
I haven't. It's one of those things that's on the list, but never makes it.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's weird because in a way it's kind of like pretty good in the way that the Fallout series is very good. It felt like it felt an awful lot like it was trying to do something different with the thing. And that's something that I think you need when you're trying to do these adaptations, doing these TV shows. The reason that the Halo TV show, to my mind, doesn't make sense is that when they try to do something new, it feels ridiculous and forced. Yeah, and
otherwise it's just Halo.
Yeah, it's Halo unless they try to do something new, and then it's like Halo, but Master Chief took off his hat.
Halo, but we're trying to be Mass Effect. Yeah, like it gets weird, but like Fallout being set as it is, and I will say this, Lord of the Rings is one of those weird IPs that, despite the fact that it has, and I'm going to air quote here, a definitive source, it itself has morphed over its own lifetime in interpreting things that were shown in the books as well as later revisions. And then, you have what Peter Jackson did with that entire universe. It had a lot of room to do something new with it, because you could take things and spin it slightly differently.
Yeah, I think to a degree, Halo would have been better if they did what Fallout did and didn't use the same characters.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Because like in Fallout, if the Fallout show was all about the original Fallout Vault Dweller, no, that doesn't make sense. But the Halo show is about Master Chief.
I mean, and let's also be honest, the best Halo show that ever existed was on Rooster Teeth.
I've honestly never seen Red and Blue. So I don't know. I know that they existed, but I've never seen it. But regardless, to get back to where we were, that's what I want to do. I would want to do a character who could come in and upset the apple cart. And somebody who isn't like I said, I don't want this to be a character who's just good at everything.
Yeah.
That is the worst thing when they do that in a show or a book or anything. Like a character who's like, they certainly have a reason to be there. One of the other things I hate is when they have somebody who's a complete helpless naif who can't do anything right, and you basically have to carry them until they suddenly get good. But I don't like it when they're just, I can do everything. No, you want somebody who can come in and be like a Luke Skywalker or a Han Solo and do specific things. You want someone like Rey, who I will never stop saying this. Rey is a great character. Rey, who is very good at the Jedi stuff, way better than most people are, but is absolute shite at everything else. Rey is terrible at everything. Have you ever watched Rey in this book? It's amazing to watch how she just stumbles through these things. Go, oh my God, what am I doing? And I loved that about her. And I really felt it was terrible that people weren't picking up on it. But that's the kind of thing I want to see. I want to see a story that uses the modern stuff and then goes back. Like I'd love to, like Joe's idea about the Arathi, I'd be totally down for it. But I would like to see a character who could come in and kind of be our way in. Like people who don't know anything about Azeroth or Warcraft, like you were talking about, Liz, that there's all this stuff you don't like in the lore. And one of the things I don't like in the lore is it has the Disney mom problem times 1,000.
Yes.
Like where are all the moms? The second you get married in a Disney movie, good luck. You are in deep trouble. You should run, girl, run. Your husband's probably not going to murder you, but someone's gonna.
Yep.
So that's the kind of stuff I would like to see something done about. And that's it. That's me, my answer. I think that's us for us, though. Yeah, we're about 5 minutes. We started 2 minutes late.
We're good. We're at time.
So yeah, we're at time. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to do some of the other ones, like the Sargeras sword one. But next week
we're gonna have to come back to it next week.
And then of course, someday we should probably do like a special all questions episode, just because we have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot to say. So I feel sometimes we cut you guys off too much. But right at this point, Liz, do you want to mention the site thing again, or were you good with the opening bit?
No, I'm good. Just thanks for supporting, and if you see any bad ads, let us know.
Okay, Joe.
Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means this podcast site and community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance at having your question answered on our podcast with a Q, and an ads-free site experience.
Thanks, Joe. And thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to Liz for helping do that site, the site address, because we need to get people telling us about those ads. We want to make sure that the site's something you guys can access. That's absolutely super important to us. But this has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Again, if you have a question for the show, you can use our Discord. You can either go to our Q&A Podcast Questions channel or our Patreon Q&A Podcast Questions channel if you're a patron, or you can email us directly at podcast@blizzardwatch.com. Subject line podcast of Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for this show. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll be back next week.